Hello everyone. How do you picture the border between two countries? Probably some kind of barbed wire fence protected by armed guards and dogs. Also, to cross the border, you have to go through a passport control, and you may not be allowed to enter the country. However, not all borders are like this. In fact, there are countries that are separated in a rather strange way. Today, we will talk about these kinds of unusual borders. Let's get it on. Belgium and the Netherlands. The small Belgian commune of Baarle-Hertog can be considered a wonder of the world. It's not as incredible as the pyramids of Giza, but it has its charm. The fact is that the border between Belgium and the Netherlands runs along this settlement. The Belgian part of the city is an enclave within the Netherlands, located 5 kilometers from the Belgian border. The enclave is a part of a state completely surrounded by the territory of another state. Sounds complicated, but wait, there's more. The Belgian enclave in turn contains Dutch enclaves, known as counter-exclaves, enclaves within enclaves. As you can see, Baarle-Hertog is a rather confusing place. This complicated border was established after a treaty signed between the Netherlands and Belgium in 1843. It confirms some medieval agreements that divided the land into small pieces. That's when everything got mixed up. Even some houses in the commune were divided between the two countries. For a while, Dutch law required restaurants to close early. For some restaurants on the border, though, this simply meant that customers had to move to a table on the Belgian side. So convenient. In addition, Belgian law allows the sale of fireworks, while in the Netherlands, it's strictly prohibited. This is why many tourists from the Netherlands visit Baarle-Hertog, where they can visit a shop on the Belgian side and buy all kinds of fireworks for the New Year's celebration. Austria and Germany. Jungholz is a village in Austria, in the federal state of Tyrol. Despite the fact that it's part of Austria, the commune is only accessible via Germany, so it's basically an enclave. The lack of a road connection to anywhere else in Austria led to Jungholz being included in the German customs area until Austria joined the EU in 1995. The city also used the German mark instead of the Austrian schilling as its currency until the euro appeared in 2002. Today, Jungholz is connected to the rest of Austria by a single point, but that doesn't mean that you can squeeze through it without crossing the German territory at all. Maybe only Mr. Fantastic could do it, because entering Jungholz this way will be incredibly difficult, and the history of this place starts when a resident of Tyrol brought this piece of land from a Bavarian in 1342. The buyer had the area incorporated with his other possession and was very pleased. In the Bavarian-Austrian border treaty of 1844, Jungholz was already officially listed as Austrian territory. Since then, it has remained this way, despite its strange location. According to data from the beginning of 2019, only 294 people live in Jungholz, but the village attracts many tourists that want to see this unique town. Russia and the USA. The Diomede Islands consist of 2 islands and several rocks in the middle of the Bering Strait. They are located between Russia and the USA, and each island belongs to one of these 2 countries. Big Diomede Island, also known as Ratmanov Island, belongs to Russia. Little Diomede, also known as Krusenstern Island, belongs to the USA. The international border is located at a distance of about 2 kilometers from each island. At their closest points, the 2 islands are about 3.8 kilometers apart. Who would have known that Russia and the USA are so close? In winter, an ice bridge appears between these 2 islands, which means that it's theoretically possible to walk between the United States and Russia. However, traveling between the 2 islands is prohibited. You know, state borders and all that. It's a very serious thing. But since 1989, there's been an agreement between the USSR and the United States that allows visa-free travel for locals. However, most of the local population of Ratmanov Island have been moved to mainland Russia. Today, the island has the easternmost Russian military unit and a Russian frontier post. In general, it's not a place that you could visit easily. On the other hand, there's a small village on the island of Krusenstern with a population of about 100 people. There's a school and a shop there, and mail is delivered by helicopter only when the weather is good. USA and Canada. The border between Canada and the United States stretches for almost 9,000 kilometers, and it would be a pretty normal border if it weren't for a library and an opera house. The Haskell Free Library and Opera House were deliberately built on the border between Canada and the United States, and it wasn't a joke or a mistake. The aim was to provide border communities with a center for educational and cultural enrichment, and it worked. The first stone of the unusual institution was laid on October 15th, 1901, and in 1904 the construction was completed. By the way, the building only cost $50,000, which was a decent amount at the time. Many people say that the Opera House is an exact copy of the Boston Opera House, but that's not true. Anyway, this building is unique. Nowhere in the world can you sit in an opera house literally divided by an international border. In this case, most of the audience is in the United States, while the actors on stage are in Canada, and nowhere else in the world can you find a library like this. The front door is in the USA, but all the books are in Canada, and the reading hall is considered international territory. Egypt and Sudan. There are many countries on our planet, and each of them needs its own territory. But there are zones known as no man's land. One of them is Bir Tawil. It's a territory bordering Egypt on the north and Sudan on the west, south, and east. Sometimes Bir Tawil is referred to as the Bir Tawil Triangle, despite having 4 corners, but its shape is not that important. The interesting thing is that no one wants this piece of land at all. In the late 19th and the early 20th century, Britain made an agreement with Egypt drawing a boundary in this place, but the division was performed twice with some changes, and the problems began. Under one agreement, Bir Tawil was territory of Egypt, and the more valuable Halaib Triangle was part of Sudan, but according to the other division, it was the other way around, and as a result, the Halaib Triangle is claimed by both countries, and Bir Tawil by neither. But one thing was simply impossible without the other. So, right now, both countries border Bir Tawil, but neither consider it their land. By the way, there aren't many places like this in the world. Egypt is actually ruling over Bir Tawil. However, the unclaimed territory doesn't appear as part of that country on any map. Argentina and Brazil. Just a look at the famous Iguazu Falls is enough to remember this place forever, because it's beautiful and spectacular. It's a complex of 275 waterfalls located on the Iguazu River, on the border between Brazil and Argentina. From the air, the Iguazu Falls resemble a reverse letter J. On the right bank is the Brazilian territory, which is home to more than 95% of the Iguazu River basin. But Brazil has just over 20% of the jumps of the waterfalls. The other 80% are Argentinian. Many islands, including fairly large ones, separate the waterfalls from each other. Small bridges have been built here and there to walk between the islands. With their help, you can admire the Iguazu Falls from all sides. Not surprisingly, the waterfalls are one of the most visited places in South America. From 1.5 to 2 million visitors come here every year. There is an international airport near Iguazu, as well as dozens of hotels, camping sites, roads, hiking trails, and the local population works mainly in tourism. Looking at all this, it's hard to believe that we're talking about the border between two countries. The USA and Mexico. It would seem that the border between the United States and Mexico should be very protected. But here, on the border between San Diego and Tijuana, you can find absolutely amazing things. First of all, this region is an international cross-border agglomeration. It is located right on the border between San Diego in the United States and Tijuana in Mexico. The region had a population of almost 5 million in 2012, making it the largest binational conurbation shared between the United States and Mexico. However, the border is protected with walls and fences, and there are 3 checkpoints, just like any other border. However, here, right through this fence, people talk freely and have a great time. For example, they play international borderline volleyball, which they sometimes call Wallyball, or chat with family and friends from another country. This all happens in the Friendship Park, a place where people from both countries can meet in person. On the American side, security is carefully monitored. You can visit the Friendship Park only 2 days a week, and the border guards will watch all of your actions. No items can be transferred over the fence. This includes food, money, gifts, or even notes on paper. Yes, it's a very protected place. However, there are absolutely no access restrictions to the park on the Mexican side. Psst! Dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future? Do you love huge vehicles and can't imagine your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great.